トビデオ
We all know the name Madhouse, right? What am I saying? Of course we all do. They are one of the most important anime studios in the history of the animation medium. Formed by 4X proteges of Osamu Tezuka himself, Madhouse helped the anime medium break new ground with veritable filing cabinets worth of titles that were and still are acclaimed by critics and fans around the world. From their successful adaptation of the popular Death Note manga, to their celebrated collaborations with the artist collective Clamp, to producing the oeuvre of renowned director Satoshi Kon and giving other renowned director Mamoru Hosoda his big break, all of the above resume ensures that the name Madhouse will be a studio name that will reverberate through the ages, even if the studio's current reputation ain't exactly what it used to be. But even with that library of accomplishments to their name, it all really pales in comparison to the golden age Madhouse had in the 1980s. Out of all the studios that were taking full advantage of this blockbuster age of anime, Madhouse was the one that was the most artistically ambitious in their approach to big budgets. This was the period where co-founders Rentaro and Yoshiaki Kawajiri built their reputations as true artistic titans of animation. But this golden age did not begin overnight. Madhouse had spent most of the 70s and early 80s as collaborators with bigger studios like Toei and Tokyo Movie Shinsha. It really wasn't until their successful work with the Unico series of films that they were able to branch out into more independent projects. The beginning of this age could probably be traced back to the success of 1983's Harmageddon, but I think it truly began with a double feature released in 1985. Attached to Rentaro's landmark film Dagger of Kamui was a 45-minute short film, and while the short film's origins were certainly not born from a creative spirit, the artistry displayed within showed the future potential of the creators involved. Akihiko Nomura, nicknamed Bobby by his friends, is your typical 17-year-old slacker. He has not applied to a college yet, and he often clashes with his stern, more traditionalist father. The only thing Bobby really cares for in life is his friends, his nosy yet incredibly supportive little sister, and his motorcycle. Bobby loves motorcycles, especially his motorcycle, his beautiful, bright blue motorcycle. Everything he does in life revolves around this motorcycle. He rides it, he cleans it, he tunes it up. There is even a featured article on him in a motorcycle hobbyist magazine, all just because he rides his motorcycle so much. Riding that hog is all Bobby lives for. Should I cut that last line? But that article is not just a fun bit of trivia about Bobby, it is also the impetus for which an unexpected force enters Bobby's life. One day, he receives a letter from a secret admirer. She doesn't name herself, otherwise that would give away the secrets, but she describes herself as a girl of Bobby's age, someone who just picked up a motorcycle magazine by chance and fell deeply in love with him, illustrated by her rambling yet earnestly romantic letter to him.
国道2号線の見える窓からとても気持ちのいい風が吹き込んでいます。さっきからずっと国道を見ているのですが、オートバイは一台も走っていきません。
Bobby, who's never had a girlfriend strangely enough, writes her back with the amount of smoldering passion one can expect from the average teenage slacker.
手紙読んだよ。Thank you.
And so begins a long-distance romance between two loves who never meet each other face to face. And while Bobby goes through some serious changes and developments in his young adolescence, the letters from the girl remain a constant grounding fixture. He continuously pines for this mysterious girl, and he wonders if they will ever meet or even talk on the telephone with each other. No doubt about it, Bobby's in deep.
We have a title! Yes. We have a title, yes!
Released in 1985 and also known under the alternate English title of Bobby's Girl, Bobby's in Deep is yet another one of those titles from that microgenre of 80s anime I very much adore. I'm talking of anime that taps into the heart and soul of the unfettered optimism of 1980s Japan and its accompanying youth culture, combining the pop art and the pop music of the day into an entrancing piece of visual art, all of which never made it over here to the States. I have unofficially dubbed this microgenre City Pop Anime. But Bobby's in Deep is not just another one of these titles. Taking a step back reveals that it might actually be both the originator of this microgenre and its biggest example. After all, it is the only one made specifically for a theatrical setting. Without it, there probably would be no California Crisis, Toy, or 1919. But let's get real here. Bobby's in Deep is not really an underrated masterpiece that's hiding under your nose. Depending on what you're looking for in an anime, this could leave you out in the cold. And, as we'll see later, Bobby's in Deep was born from a very cynical place that could have only blossomed out of the hyper-capitalist neoliberal landscape of the 1980s. But, like a flower growing in concrete, it has a beauty to it. A beauty which I owe all to the people creating this anime. Bobby's in Deep began as a novel written by Yoshio Kataoka. Published in 1980, every summary I could find of it tells me that it was your typical etude to misbegotten youth that all writers like to write every now and then. There were a few differences between the original source material and the anime that came out 5 years later, of course. The big one being that Bobby is not a motorcycling enthusiast who goes to work at a motorcycle-themed restaurant later in the story, but a beach bum surfer who goes to work at a surf shop. I don't know why that change was made. I guess motorcycles were just far more popular, I guess. Because that's really how this anime came into being, chasing a popular trend. By now, we know that the mid-80s was all about finding any mildly successful manga or book and giving it the anime treatment for the film or OVA markets, and Bobby's in Deep was no exception. Kadokawa Corporation, the production company behind the aforementioned Harmageddon, were totally down with funding an adaptation of Bobby's in Deep if, and only if, Madhouse would cast an up-and-coming teen idol singer, Hironobu Nomura, in the lead role. This concept of casting teen idols in movies meant to be star vehicles for them was not a novel concept. From the 50s to 60s, the American film industry had developed an entire cottage industry for these types of films, to the point that they would be parodied mercilessly decades later.
I want to be just another stiff walking around an amusement park in a stuffed badger costume, Lou Alcindor. I'm gonna risk it all and go for that parking lot attendant gig.
Oh, Malvis.
I'm going to park those cars. I gotta reach for the stars. You got my head spinning round like a frog in a blender.
But in Japan, this concept of using anime to promote an idol was very new at the time. The industry had only just emerged in the 70s, and it had only really taken a hold in the anime world just a few years ago. Macross having up-and-comer Mari Iijima voice the idol character Lin Minmay was a huge boon for that franchise and helped make Minmay a fan favorite. So I guess Kadokawa figured perhaps the same could work with the male idol. Don't know how successful that venture was, considering that this is yet another anime title that never made it beyond the Laserdisc release, but hey, Toy got a Blu-ray release last year, so never say never, I guess. Also, discotheque. Hint, hint. I wouldn't exactly call the story of Bobby's in Deep all that deep, really. It's pretty standard for this type of movie about the romanticism of squandering your youth. Bobby slacks off and rides his motorcycle, gets in a fight with his parents, runs away from home and gets a job with an even better father figure who also loves motorcycles, and in between all that, he reads letters from his secret admirer and rides his motorcycle some more. It's a pretty shallow story, all things considered, one that really lives and dies by how interesting a character Bobby is. And he isn't. Screenwriter Fumio Ishimori perhaps did a little too good a job in portraying Bobby as a slacker teen because he really is about as interesting as your average slacker teen. Directionless, indolent, responding way too casually to events, even if that event is getting into a physical altercation with your father and becoming estranged from your parents as a result.
落ち着いたらお前にだけ電話知らせるよ。
その電話にお父さんかお母さんが出るかもよ。
3回コールして一度切る。
And even when he's engaging with his life's passions like motorcycles and interacting with his secret admirer, the passion feels muted. It's a too cool for school attitude that almost belies an arrogance or even insecurity about one's direction in life. But the anime never really feels the need to really probe this aspect of Bobby's character. He doesn't have any moments of self-reflection, like a normal teenage boy, I guess. And the only people who seriously interface with him are his old man, who's supposed to be the authoritarian obstacle, and his sister, friends, and boss, all of whom are endlessly encouraging of Bobby's passions and laying it on thick about how he has a bright future in motorcycling ahead of him and that they are with him all the way, baby. And Bobby reacts to all this no strings attached support like he's been given a complimentary after dinner mint from Applebee's. The boringness of Bobby's character is compounded by Hironobu Nomura's completely flat delivery.
7月の半ば、夏休みに入ると、社長は北海道へ去った。アパートは俺と猫だけになった。
I should preface this by saying that Nomura would eventually go on to have a fruitful acting career after his days as an idol, but at this point in his career, it's so obvious that he is just a pretty face being told to sit down and read the script in front of him. Even with the language barrier, the woodenness is clear as crystal.
お前大学へ行きだろ。
入れないよ。
なぜだ。
学校の試験はいつも40点とか50点だから。
Especially compare it to the narration of the mystery girl done by Hiromi Murata, who just sells you on the love-struck nature of her character with a teenage wistfulness in her voice.
家の中にいても目には見えない雨がまるで香りのように私の体に降りかかり取り囲み通り過ぎていくのでした。
Also, the song at the end credits is a cover of teen singer Marcy Blaine's 1962 hit Bobby's Girl, which is done here by fellow idol singer Mayumi Shimizu, who also is the voice of Bobby's sister Keiko. I only bring this up because considering that this is a city pop cover of a 60s bubblegum pop song, it was engineered to be buried in your head for as long as possible, and I need to pass that pain on to someone else.
I wanna be Bobby's girl. I wanna be Bobby's girl. That's the most important thing to me.
But let's go beyond that super unimportant stuff like characters and plot. What we really came here to enjoy is that sweet, sweet aesthetic. Bobby's In Deep is by no means an expensive looking anime. It relies a lot on still images and creative cuts so as to not have the characters' mouths visible when they are speaking their dialogue, on top of a good portion of the movie being narration of the written word. But director Toshio Hirata really knows how to arrange everything to make it a visually entrancing work. Like with 1919, which he also worked on, Hirata employs a music video style of direction. Stylish shots that rapidly cut back and forth from each other, liberal usage of montage, and what I found the most interesting, the mixing of art styles. Bobby's In Deep can change its entire canvas depending on the mood of the scene. One minute it can be your traditional cell animated anime, and then it will switch over to a heavily sketched scene done entirely in graphite pencil, before then switching over to a montage told entirely through lush, impressionist airbrush paintings. Even a scene meant to depict the mundanity of Japanese suburban living is still visually captivating thanks to the art direction of Akira Yamakawa. There's also the character designs, which are done by Akimi Yoshida. Yoshida is best known for being the creator of the very 80s and very gay crime manga series Banana Fish, Bobby's In Deep being Yoshida's first and so far only true anime credits. They are beautiful without being too extravagant so the animators can better work their magic, allowing for my favorite bit of character animation in this anime with Keiko conversing with Bobby, all while doing a graceful, energetic dance to show off her happy-go-lucky personality.
ねえボビー、私にも読ませて。読ませてくれなくったって私読んじゃうもん。
But there's really one scene in this anime that is totally worth the price of admission alone, because it is the scene that shows off the mad skills of the Madhouse animators. A little context. So Bobby has been communicating with his mystery girl for quite a while now, but comes to the conclusion that he's no good at communicating through letters. So he sends his mystery girl his phone number and proposes that they arrange time to talk with each other over the phone. Mystery girl accepts and says that she will call him on the 10th of August at 6 p.m. Why the 10th of August specifically?
なぜ8月10日？私の誕生日だから。
After an undisclosed amount of time passes, Bobby's boss invites him on a motorcycle trip to show off his motocross team along with his garage and future practice track, pretty much spelling out to Bobby that this is a potential avenue for his future that plays into his passions. And of course Bobby responds with a, yeah, cool, whatever bro. But while Bobby is sitting off to the side, doing the things he does best, which is both maxing and relaxing, he suddenly remembers that today is the 10th of August, it's late in the afternoon, and that he drove clear across town to get where he is. If he wants to finally hear the voice of his mystery girl, he needs to get on his bike ASAP. And what follows is the most amazingly animated motorcycle ride ever committed to film. Akira has nothing on this. The two animators who did this entire sequence are Koji Morimoto and Takashi Nakamura, two incredibly talented animators that I've extolled about a lot in past videos. If you can remember, both were talented enough to direct their own segments in Robot Carnival. The two animators divide their segments up by color. Koji Morimoto's segments are the ones in color, while Takashi Nakamura's segments are the ones in black and white pencil. Morimoto animates the beginning sequence when Bobby first sets off, all while a melodic ballad plays in the background. He focuses mostly on moving the backdrop as Bobby's bike speeds along, giving a lot of focus on the gleaming sunlight that shines like a laser off of Bobby's helmet, never losing track of the effect's patterns while he smoothly renders the empty road Bobby is traveling across, which is done beautifully in stark light and shadow to give it that almost vectorized style. But as Bobby starts to go faster and faster on his bike, the colors suddenly begin to give way and transition to the black and white pencil style where Nakamura takes over. He keeps up Morimoto's speed in portraying the scenery as Bobby's bike blows right through it, but now Nakamura puts a lot more focus on the bike and its pilot, detailing how the needle in the speedometer is gradually increasing and how Bobby begins to take more reckless turns as he tries to get home in time for this phone call. It all ends in a climax which I'm not gonna spoil, you'll just have to see for yourself. But let me just say that it really took me by surprise. And that's Bobby's In Deep, showing us what could have easily been an empty commercial for a pretty boy idol singer and turning it into a unique visual experience thanks to the animators. Is it an unappreciated masterpiece? Hell no. I think the staff's overall disinterest in the story and character writing makes itself abundantly clear. But the art, direction, and above all else animation makes this anime a gorgeous work of art. Especially that ending bike ride scene. It's one of the finest examples of artistic skill in hand-drawn animation, back when it was a skill people appreciated. But above all else, Bobby's In Deep is one of the anime that acted as the harbinger for Madhouse's golden age, helping usher forth a studio that, for a few decades, was synonymous with the prime cuts of quality anime. All of this out of a cynical ploy to get idol fangirls into theaters. Inspiration indeed grows in the most unexpected places.